Hey guys, welcome back to Reserved Investments on YouTube. So I wanted to do a video to follow up on one of the most earlier videos I did on this channel where I talk about limited run games and the fallacy of long-term investment in the products that they produce and the items that hit the market with mass-produced scarcity in mind. So I want to take some time to really talk about this, because one of the trends that is really developing, especially among quote-unquote video game collectors, speculators of mass-produced collectibles and the like, is there seems to be this push to create all these video games, all these re-releases of games, and or other original content in limited numbers in physical form. So you not only have limited run games in the market today, you also have strictly limited games. You also have other companies that I haven't even heard of, like Pix and Love, which is coming out with a limited collector's edition of Samurai Showdown, which ironically was originally released back in 1993 for the Neo Geo Gold system and also the arcades. And you have a lot of these other smaller firms that have made headway into this market, like I Am 8-Bit and PlayAsia. Now, before we go any further, I have to state, a lot of the products that these companies create are spectacular. For instance, I love looking at Strictly Limited Games website. Their Darius collection really appeals to me. I do not own that at present time, but I'll be very honest, for the 60 bucks or whatever they want just for the standard version of that particular game, I consider that to be a wise investment from somebody who wants to play that game. I do not think it's a wise financial investment. More on that in a little bit. However, when I look at like limited run games, one of the things that I'm noticing is, and they make beautiful products. I mean, let's be honest. I got this graded. This is the Ys Origin deluxe version for the PlayStation 4 that I got graded by VGA, just because I have an emotional attachment to the Ys series. When I got my TurboGrafx 16 back in the day, I think it was 1989, I was lucky enough to get the TurboGrafx CD system with it. And I remember I played the heck out of Ys Book 1 and 2. So the fact that there is a collector's edition of Ys Origin for the PlayStation 4, I was all over it. But guys, here's the thing. As I've said before, I'm not long-term investing in these items. These are items that I like, just want to own. Maybe we'll sell them in the future, but at the same time, I just want to play the game and or enjoy it for what it is, because it takes me back to my childhood. The problem that I have in this whole market is there's a lot of uneducated speculators and wannabe investors coming into this market that don't understand how it works. So I'm going to state this, and we're going to go into details, and I'm also going to state how if you really want to profit from these games, you really have to know what you're doing, and you have to know what to look for and when to flip. I'm going to show you that in this video. So in a way, I'm going to teach you how to manipulate this market if you so desire to. I'm also going to teach you, if you are a collector and or just somebody that has a fondness for some of these games, and you just want to get them on your shelf just because you like these items and you don't see them as a financial investment, how to buy them correctly so you don't overpay. Now, before we go any further, one of the things that we got to talk about in the economic realm of the collectibles marketplace is something called the scarcity principle. Now, I printed out an excellent document from one of my college-based textbooks that I think is also available somewhere online, because I noted it in two places. This details the scarcity principle in details and why it causes consumers to act a certain way. You know, now that video games are having their say in the collectibles market overall, you have to understand that there's a lot of people coming into this market who think that just because something is released in limited quantities, whether it's by Nintendo, Limited Run, Strictly Limited Games, or any of these other companies that are monopolizing this market, it automatically means that somebody in the future is going to want to own these items and possibly pay a premium to get them. I've said this before, I will say it again. That is a major fallacy. There is a huge difference between organic collectability and mass-produced scarcity. And I understand that some of my subscribers out there are probably getting upset because in some of my videos, I continue to repeat the same point or the same principle or fundamentals that I stated in other videos. But you have to understand, judging by the comment section of some of my videos, people are not understanding this. Your Revenge of the Bird King will never ever be worth thousands of dollars. The people who made the money off that game were the people who were initially creating it in limited quantities, selling it to the people out there who they knew would flip it on the secondary market for a quick premium. If you look at the price history of that game, I did a video on it, you will see literal idiots, because that's what they were, paying over $1,000 for that game when it first hit eBay. Today, you can go on eBay and get a copy for anywhere from $100 to $200. So if you're one of those people sitting there that paid $1,400, $1,500, $1,600 for that game, this video is for you because you don't understand how the collectibles market works and you really need an education. And you have to really watch my videos, read the articles that are done by Harry Ranker, and also really research what's happening in the trade and how you're being manipulated. So I'm going to teach you how you're being manipulated right now. Scarcity principle. We got to discuss it. This is a basic economic principle that applies to collectibles as well. So all is what the scarcity principle states. Overall, I'm going to simplify this a lot. Consumers place a higher value on goods and or services that they perceive to be scarce than goods that are abundant. Have you logged on the Wada Games website recently? Are you aware there's a 6-month backlog? Do you know why there's a 6-month backlog? Well, one of the reasons is because consumers place a higher value on goods and services that appear scarce more than abundant. A lot of third-party grading companies specifically limit their bandwidth on purpose because they know if you're going to get something graded, you're going to wait to get that item graded, and if you want it graded quicker, you're going to pay more money to them to get it back quicker. That's the scarcity mindset in action, and that happens among all of the grading companies. I am not attacking one grading company over another in this video. I love PCGS, I love NGC, I love PMG, who are all companies that grade coins or currency specifically. But they do the same thing, guys. Let's be realistic here. If you have to send something to a grading company and they tell you, hey, if you pay us $40 for the standard grading fee, I'm just using that as an example, it's going to take us 6 to 8 weeks for you to get your item. And right now we're backlogged. We can't even guarantee that. But if you use our rush service or our 10-day turnaround service or whatever they're calling it, and you pay $60 to $80, we'll get it back to you within a month or two. That's the concept of the scarcity principle in action. That's also the concept of manipulating markets in the antiques and collectibles trade. Auction houses do this as well. I'm not going to get into that in this video. In an upcoming video, though, we will touch on that subject matter entirely. Now, you have to understand that anytime there is feigned scarcity or real scarcity for an item in the marketplace of which the marketplace has demand and is already established, 2 points that are very important, there is a surge in demand for that commodity. So let's say that you're sitting out there and you're one of these companies and you manage to get the rights to one of these games that you want to create in physical form and bring to the market. Well, first of all, I do have to clear up one myth that is circulating about a lot of these companies. These companies, whether it be limited run games, strictly limited games, or any of these other companies, they pay a fee to get that license so they can produce the game. One of the things that you have to understand, guys, is they cannot make an unlimited amount. They would go bankrupt if they can't assess demand properly. That's why limited run games, and I salute them for this, on a lot of their popular products, like when Night Trap came out, or Corpse Killer, or Double Switch, I'm picking on the digital pictures releases because I just have a fondness for those games. They took pre-orders for those items, more specifically so that they could ensure anybody who wanted one would be willing to get a copy of that game, but also so they could estimate demand for those items. So they didn't put like 20,000 copies into production and only 5,000 sell. So you have to understand, even on the releases that they create that are only available for a limited time, they do have to cut production in certain numbers because let's be honest, some of these games are more acting in a niche market or an esoteric market where they're not going to sell 50,000 items or copies of some of these games. It's just not realistic. So they limit production. Now, limited run games, to be fair to the company, they make beautiful products. They're not doing anything unethical or even remotely wrong in their approach where they call the company limited run games and they release these games in limited quantities. The problem is, somewhere in their marketing department, maybe it is the two owners that own the company or what have you, they know in the back of their heads that given the fact that video games are collectible, and also they're calling these releases limited run games, they automatically know that speculators in their limited mindset, they're going to start to go nuts and they're going to go, well, they're only releasing 3,000 or 4,000 copies of this game. I better be available Friday when it becomes available and click the buy now button and get it. Because if I don't, it could go up in value on the secondary market. And I have FOMO syndrome, fear of missing out. So I have to sit at my computer and hope I'm one of the lucky people that gets my order in, or I'm going to be forced to pay a scalper on the secondary market. And we don't like those scalpers. Come on. We know the scalpers in this stuff. They're sitting in ivory towers making hundreds, if not millions of dollars on this stuff that comes out. And yes, I'm being sarcastic because ironically, guys, one thing that you guys aren't going to like about me, I actually defend scalpers in this particular subset because I think that what scalpers do, they allow people to get these products who normally wouldn't. Now, more on that in a little bit because we're going to talk how best to speculate in these items, if that's really what you want to do. For me, I prefer to go after the limited run releases that I want in my collection and want to own. Whether I keep them sealed, whether I open them, at some point if I sell them 5 years into the future or 2 years into the future from their release, it doesn't matter to me, guys. The amount of money you're going to make on some of these games is very low. I can do a video where I show you where I bought some of the most popular limited run releases when they were available for like $29.99 or $34.99. And some of them have gone up to $60 or $65 or $70. And when you subtract long-term costs of owning that item with eBay fees, PayPal fees, shipping, and all your costs involved on some of these releases, literally, guys, I've made $10 to $15. If it's worth taking your time to log on to a website and having to be at that website at a certain time of day and clicking on the buy it now button to get 2 releases into your cart before the next person so that you can flip those items on eBay to make 15 or 20 bucks on both of them by the time you get them, put them up on eBay and flip them, by all means, if that's what you want to do and how you want to spend your time, go for it. And to the people out there that criticize the people that do that, ironically, guys, they would make more money working for Chick-fil-A or Target part-time. You really can't criticize because you have to pay a premium to get an item that you could have easily got when it was on pre-order through limited run or on sale on the website on whatever Friday it was released. It's the same thing with some of these things that Nintendo releases. Here, I'll use this as an example. This item was available for pre-order through GameStop and Amazon for over a month. And what always cracks me up is when I bought this item and got it graded, when I listed it on eBay, it's still on eBay, by the way. Anybody can make me an offer on this, or they can click the buy it now if they really want this. Ironically, though, every once in a while, I'll get an angry email from somebody on eBay that says, "How dare you go out there and buy this item just to flip it on the secondary market? You're scum." Ironically, though, I don't see them sending an email to Nintendo claiming that, "Hey, Nintendo, you didn't make enough of these for me. I'm a consumer willing to give you my money. You're a publicly traded company. Why didn't you make more of this?" But they're coming to people like me when, ironically, they could have ordered the game for over a 30-day span at any time, used a credit card, could have even used a cash back credit card, paid it off at the end of the month, and they could have got their own copy for what, $79.99 and sent it to VGA to get graded if they so wanted to. They chose not to. So I know in having this discussion with you guys, a lot of you guys are probably going to take issue with this video because not only am I attacking some of the speculators who go after some of these items, but I'm also defending some of the quote-unquote resellers and scalpers who are buying this stuff to flip. But when you analyze the market from my perspective, it's actually kind of cute because, in my opinion, a lot of these people, and I don't mean to insult anybody because I'm engaged in this as well. I told you guys before from my first video that premiered on this channel, I said I am involved in all subsets of the antiques and collectibles trade. I use short-term speculation in a lot of these markets that can be manipulated, and I take the profit out of those items and I pretty much put them in longer-term collectibles, which for me means, you guys are going to repeat it with me, coins, currency, historical documents, collectible first edition books, art, and traditional antiques. That's pretty much what I buy if I want to engage in alternate asset investing in the greater antiques and collectibles trade. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, Sean, how do you explain then if in 10, 20 years, somebody wants to get a complete PlayStation 4 set that's either factory sealed or complete in the box, they're going to have to get all these limited run games. I'm going to come back to you and I'm going to say, first of all, you don't know in 10 to 20 years if someone's going to want a complete PlayStation 4 factory sealed or complete in box set. And number two, are we really going to consider limited run, strictly limited releases? What is this other one that I keep naming wrong? Picks and Love releases as part of a full PlayStation 4 set? That's a question that needs to be answered. Some of you guys want to collect every single limited run release that's coming out. And to be fair, limited run makes beautiful products. But back in 2015, 2016, when they started, they used to only release 2-3 games a month at most. And when they were first starting out, I think it was only 1 to 2 games a month. So really, if they were releasing 2 games a month at $29.99 a piece, even with shipping, for both releases, you were probably under $70 a month spending on limited run games. Today, if you were going to go after all these releases and the vinyl soundtracks and everything else that they're releasing, do you have any idea how much money you're going to sink into going after these items for gains that may never materialize? If you're a speculator and you study the market and you're looking for the short-term flip, because you don't want to be caught holding this stuff long-term, thinking like a lot of these unsophisticated collectors and investors think, where one of these items is going to become the next stadium events. Guys, it's not possible. This is all mass-produced scarcity. There's nothing organically collectible about any of these items. Not one. I don't care if it's their first release, which I think was Saturday Morning RPG. None of this stuff has organic collectability. If that item becomes valuable in 5 to 10 years, it will be because a stable marketplace formed for limited run releases. Right now, that is not probable. That is not even factored into this equation. The market is too new for all these mass-produced games in physical form that are based on either digital formats or previously re-released games. You guys really got to be careful here. I'm going to be doing, over the next couple of weeks, more videos on video game collecting because I have people trying to argue with me that a factory-sealed copy of BioShock for the Xbox 360 or the PlayStation 3 is a great investment. Have you guys ever heard of the BioShock collection that came out for the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4? It's just like Super Mario All-Stars. Have you heard of that game by chance? A lot of these items that are being reproduced by manufacturers in wonderful fancy packaging and that and the like, they're either rendering the previous editions obsolete, non-collectible, or they themselves are being rendered obsolete because they come from the perspective of mass-produced scarcity. You guys are getting it. Not all of you, but a lot of you are getting this market all wrong. And I'm here to kind of set the record straight. So if you want to thumbs down this video because there's a guy on YouTube who automatically admits that he engages in short-term speculation and he's telling you not to buy this stuff, if that's all you're getting out of this video, meaning if those are the only 2 points after 20 minutes of talking about this that are going through your mind in this particular video, you are completely misinterpreting what I'm saying. So please go ahead, unsubscribe, give me a thumbs down, and say, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But I guarantee you, 10 to 20 years, we look back on who did better in the collectibles market. Guarantee it's going to be this guy. These markets are not yet established. It can go any way at this point. It takes 30 years for a collectibles market to stabilize and mature. There are a lot of items in the market that people are paying insane prices for. And these people come to me for advice. They pay me a consulting fee. And I look at them and I go, not only are you losing money on this particular item, you are actually paying me to tell you that. It is insane, guys. Please do not fall into this trap. There will probably be a follow-up to this video because honestly, I didn't state everything that I wanted to in this video and it's already at 21 minutes. So I appreciate your support. If you do like what I do, consider subscribing. If you like the content that I produce, let me know by liking the videos. If you have a question, concern, maybe you don't agree with me, let me know in the comments section. But please, be very careful in these markets if, number one, you're not buying properly, and number two, you actually think that these items are a good long-term investment, because they are not. They are great for short-term speculation, to selling to Timmies and Poindexters who don't know any better. Those type of people will throw money at anything, and you cannot convince them they're wrong. These are the people that come into my comment section and go, this is why you're wrong, and they state all the points that I've already pointed out in other videos because in their mind, they can't watch a lot of the videos that I produce because they're contrarian. They don't believe in the viewpoint that I'm presenting. So here's the problem, and somebody put in the comment section that one day this channel would get 10,000, 20, 50,000 subscribers. I don't believe it. Because at the end of the day, people subscribe to YouTube channels not to learn. They subscribe to YouTube channels that match their internal thought process. And this channel actually requires critical thought, an understanding of economics and finance, and also an understanding of antiques and collectibles. And most people will not take the time to watch these videos and understand what I'm trying to do and what viewpoints I'm trying to suggest. Again, final point before I end this video. You can invest long-term in the antiques and collectibles trade. But a lot of the people involved in the market today are trying to get long-term profits out of short-term speculative items. It is not going to work. Like I said before, if you are invested in vintage video games and you are involved in grading video games, now's your time to sell. Some people will hold those items for 10, 20, 30 years and they will make money on them. But overall, I guarantee the average person watching this video, you would be better off in an S&P 500 index fund or a total stock market index fund. Mark my words, guys. Same thing with people investing in vintage toys, vintage comic books, and the like. A lot of these markets are very overhyped right now. Be very careful if you are involved in them for the long term, unless if you're involved in the upper 1 to 3% of those markets. And ironically, if you're investing long term, that's where you want to be. And most people who are watching my channel, not all of them, but some of them don't seem to understand that there is a difference between what's happening in the low and mid-range of any collecting category versus what's happening in the top tier of that same market. They are not related. There are no direct correlations between how those items function. For instance, you cannot compare a stadium events to a boxed copy of Super Mario Brothers. The markets and the fundamentals of that market are insanely different. I've done videos on this in the past. I'll be doing videos in the future. But right now, I'm headed to the gym. So you have a great day, and I will see you next time. Thanks, guys.